The failing cultural relevance of fashion, how the industry can regain its stature, and Eugene's backhanded compliment to the Scandinavian fashion industry. My name is Konrad Olsson, editor-in-chief and founder of Scandinavian Mind, and I'm here with our editor-at-large and our man on the ground in Antwerp, Mr. Oliver Dahle. How are you, Oliver?
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So we're back with another report from Antwerp. So we left off last year with a conversation with representatives from McKinsey & Co. and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. This conversation has another, let's say, flavor to it. Eugene is much less polite. He's really, I would say, a thought leader in the fashion industry. I really enjoy following his work, his writings. Working in the industry, you just enjoy someone who can be outspoken like he can. So, talk about your view of Eugene and how you have followed his work the past few years.
Yes, exactly. I can just totally agree with you. It's He's been in the industry for about 20 years, and he has made himself famous for being a very opinionated person. Um, in the last year, especially in his newsletter, in which he writes very um opinionated views on fashion in general, like what is wrong with this crooked system that contributes to a lot of problems and how um, they are taking shape. So he gives a very uh, good perspective on what fashion is today and how we could look at it in another way, which we might not always get from other platforms in which fashion is being more celebrated.
Mm. So, anyone who wants to know more about the event, we covered that quite a lot in our last episode from Antwerp. Just scroll down in your podcast feed and get into that. But talk a little bit about Eugene's role at the Fashion Talks event, and why was he there, and what was his purpose?
Um, he has been going to the fashion talks for a couple of times, and he comes there in his role as a fashion journalist. He have been interviewing different designers on stage, and this year he came to interview two very famous Belgian designers, Stephanie De Gea and Meryl Rogge. And so that was his main uh, role at the event. When I got the opportunity or catched him to maybe talk more about fashion in general and like to actually pick his brain a little bit more about what he thinks is happening. And just before the event, I came across his newsletter in which he um, described how the Scandinavian fashion industry is maybe best in class in actually conveying very not poorly produced goods, but not the best quality
Mm.
goods in a very luxurious packaging, which I think is very interesting to hear more about. So we get to hear from him what he actually means by that.
I certainly look forward to hearing it and sharing that conversation. But I'd be remiss to ask you, Oliver, what's your take on it? Are you as, let's say, pessimistic or as harsh about the industry as Eugene? Does he have a point? You've been, pondering this now for a few weeks after having met him.
Yes and no. And I think maybe if you look at the bigger picture, we have a bigger societal shift in which the things we consume is more connected to what we want to show from ourselves. So the role fashion had, in which Eugene is referring to, like in the 80s or in the 90s, played a very different role in what is doing today. And it's being a very much or a much more globalized culture in which we could partake in fashion. But obviously, also he um, touches upon the uh, conglomeratization of fashion and how it's just several companies that basically controls the market, which then affects the cultural aspects of it. There is a lot of points he has on that. So yes and no.
All right, I think people are dying to hear this conversation now. So let's just jump into it. Here now, Oliver Dahle in conversation with Eugene Rabkin.
We're here for the fashion talks to talk about what is happening within the fashion industry and the burning topics. And you, as a fashion critic, fashion lecturer, what are your thoughts about what is happening currently in the fashion industry?
Well, my biggest concern is the corporate takeover of the industry,
Mm,
with the likes of LVMH and Kering really cornering that market and dictating to people what fashion is.
mm,
And I think what they're pushing in their message the message comes via the clothes and the relationships that are built around the clothes. And I think it's just very mediocre.
mm,
And I think that leads to erosion of standards overall. And the flip side of it is the acceptance general public what fashion is,
mm,
of what fashion should be. And it's a very banal, mediocre view on what fashion should be. And I'm talking about in aesthetic terms,
mm,
talking about quality of the garments, and I'm talking about sort of the overall vision of what fashion should be. You
mm.
know, a t-shirt with the Balenciaga logo is not fashion. It's
Yeah.
just a t-shirt with a logo. We've seen so much of it, and I think I view fashion as a creative industry, and I see less and less creativity in, and I see less and less design. I see a lot of marketing. I see a lot of sort of celebrity fashion industrial complex, but I don't see a lot of conversation about design. Even fashion magazines don't write about design anymore. They write about, oh, this celebrity is wearing this influencer is wearing this company made so much money, etc. But no one really writes about design.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's
But that's interesting, like how it's so much more about marketing, being visible. Like, what role do you think fashion plays today, like in our society? does it have a role to play still?
Besides an economic role, I don't. Yeah, I think it plays a huge role because I think more people pay attention to fashion than ever. And but I think so. There is an economic role, and there is an aspirational component to it. What I see the role fashion plays today, the biggest role is probably what Thurston LeBlanc wrote about: conspicuous consumption, aspirational consumption, display of status. That's very important for people today. Understandably, I think we live in a world where a lot of people have recently come out of poverty, joined the middle class, or on the way there, and they want to signal that they are on their way. They want to signal their status through clothing. And that's why I think that's one of the reasons the fashion industry has been so successful in the past 20 years, and it's been incredibly successful. But as a cultural discipline, I think it's dead. I don't see what cultural role fashion plays in aesthetic terms in carrying the conversation forward. It plays a huge role in status symbol, displaying status symbol. You can say that's cultural too, but I don't see what role it plays in terms of sort of, let's say, art for art's sake. Because I don't see a lot of innovation.
But like today, fashion contributes to like one of our biggest problems in the world, basically, like the environmental issue. Yeah. How do you think this could be solved? Like, what do you see as the main issues connected to this?
Yeah. There is only one solution, and it's for people to buy less and to buy better clothes and to buy more expensive clothes. I hate to say it, but really to buy quality clothes. Expensive or not expensive. Usually quality clothes come with an expense. That is the biggest problem, and that is the only real. Everything else is bullshit. Sustainability conversations are utter bullshit. Conversations about we have a sustainable brand, that's bullshit. We use recycled materials, that's bullshit. Recycled polyester is still polyester. And I've never seen, and I'm like, if everyone talks about sustainability, how come I see more polyester today than I've ever seen in my life? Across the board, luxury and non-luxury, fast fashion. I've never seen so much polyester in my life. This whole talk of sustainability has just become another marketing tool. The only solution is to buy less. That's it. There is no other solution. Buy less, buy quality, hold on to your stuff longer, repair it, learn how to take care of it, take it to dry cleaners, care. Like at the end, the bottom line is care. We have to care for material things that are serving us. We have to serve them in turn. There is nothing frivolous. We see it's like having attachment to material things as frivolous and unserious and also almost embarrassing. And it's an absolutely ridiculous point of view. We should care about things we own. We should have an emotional relationship with the things we own because they take care of us. And they in turn provide meaning for us. So why shouldn't we have a relationship with the clothes? That's why I wrote a polemic against the rental industry some years ago. And I argued that how are you supposed to develop a relationship if even we're questioning the mere fact of ownership? And the biggest claims these rental companies were making that they're sustainable, and they're all comparing themselves to fast fashion. And I was like, well, this is bullshit. Like, what if you buy quality clothes? Why are you only comparing yourself to fast fashion companies? So yeah, the only solution is to buy less. There is no other solution.
Yeah.
If we change our buying habits today, if fast fashion went away today, this would solve half of climate crisis. probably, you know. So that's my view. Everything else, I don't buy into these notions of sustainability for a minute. There's just no way.
Yeah.
You know.
But you could see now that there are some things happening, like fast fashion being more and more regulated. And I think there was a report very recently that came out that suggested that to ban fast fashion advertising. I think it was in France. So you could like see how.
I suggested this very thing a couple of weeks ago when I wrote an article, an opinion piece, that fast fashion should be regulated like big tobacco. Like big tobacco was regulated. How, excuse me, automotive industry is being regulated, because these are real concerns. And yes, there are first steps. At the same time, we just learned that Shein is about to file for an IPO. And they're valued at $66 billion. 10 years ago, no one heard of Shein. You know, to me, this is an incredibly alarming thing.
But do you think we will be able to enjoy fashion again in like the same extent as it historically? Or will it just be connected to this bad consumerism?
I don't know. You know, let's say if we talk about the golden era of fashion, which to people it means different things. If I put someone older, it's the 80s. If someone younger, to me it's the 90s. But the audience for fashion was never that big. Will there be people who enjoy fashion and derive a meaning from it? Always. How many of them? I don't know. Maybe there was never that many of them to begin with. Yeah. And I do think that there are many more people who pay attention to fashion today than before, but at the same time, are they real enthusiasts? Like, will they really go down like the rabbit hole? I'm not sure. There are some, but there are no statistics on it. So, like, I really couldn't say. I meet young people who are super interested in fashion. There's just not that many of them. But I also meet a lot of young people who say they're interested in fashion, but they're really interested in shopping.
Yeah, I guess that's goes very much hand in hand.
Yeah.
But I saw on your Instagram like a couple of weeks ago that you posted regarding a Scandinavian brand, and you wrote a caption that was something like Scandinavian brands are the best brands to luxury label cheap goods.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Could you develop a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Because I thought it was very funny.
Sure. Of course, I was being a little glib, but I do think there is something, and by Scandinavia, I only mean Sweden and Denmark. You know, there's nothing really coming out of Norway.
Well,
Yeah, and we know, Finland is technically not Scandinavia, which is funny. No one knows this for some reason.
yeah.
Okay, so putting all that aside, I do think, Swedes especially, but Danes as well, are quite adept at creating things that, if you look at them closely, if you pay real attention, it's not really in terms of quality and design. It's far from being a pinnacle. It's far from what I would call designer fashion. But they're really fantastic at marketing the whole thing, and people really buy into it. And I think part of it is this mythology of Scandinavian design that's been built in the Western world, that gives rise to brands like Totem. I went to a Totem store, like my wife dragged me, because there was a buzz around it. There is a buzz around it. And I looked at the clothes, and we both looked at the clothes, and we were like, this is a step above COS in terms of quality. It's incredible that they're charging these prices and people buying into this stuff. like, okay, yeah, it's half the price of the row. But I'm like, this is smoke and mirrors. Like, it's incredible. And I think Acne is the model here, you know, because Acne really does a fantastic job at like producing, like, it's decent. It's not bad, but the prices they're charging and the way they've positioned themselves, people look at it as a designer brand, and it's not. It's a very well merchandised brand, but the quality is like, it's fine. It's not bad quality, but it's not great quality. And yeah, Totem is just like the latest chapter of this whole thing. You know, Gani is another one where you go in and you're like,
I think you could mention quite a lot of brands here.
yeah. And you're like, okay, it's not exactly Zara. You know, it's definitely better, but it's not that far from us. And I do think that part of it is this like mythology of Scandinavian style, Scandinavian design, which is like, you know, clean, light, this mid-century kind of minimal feeling that they're very good at. They're very good at pushing that. They're very good at selling that. So that's why I was like, I just want to address this because I think like, why not? Like, we should talk.
I think you said that you were going to write a piece about it sometime.
I did. It's part of my newsletter.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, the post on Instagram was, yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, then it ended up being, I wrote it in my newsletter. So, but you have to sign up on Patreon to read it.
I see.
Yeah. So no, I did
get people to do that then.
Yeah. People can read it.
Yeah.
I talked about Totem, I talked about Gani, and I talked about how Acne set the blueprint for this. Hey,
Can I take this rough Simons?
please. Yeah.
I will replace with another.
No. Yeah. I mean, sorry. Let's look at Totem, right?
Yeah.
One is an influencer, another one is a model.
Mm.
Helps to be very good looking, you know, it's people respond to that. Luncheon brand, that's what? Where's the design? It's very well photographed, it's very well styled, but we can see very clearly who they're going after. You know, it's half the price of the road.
Mm.
That's your built-in client base right there.
Yeah, definitely. Brands like Frame as well.
Frame, yeah.
Mm.
But they're so, I mean, you guys are so good at this. Like in many industries, like look at this brand that skincare from that came out of Copenhagen, like came out of nowhere, and now that people are loving it, and it's cool, like it's good stuff. But I'm like, why would I buy this over Aesop? I mean, we can clearly see.
Yeah, same with what are they called? Lilla Bruket, LA Bruket.
Yeah,
You heard about it?
Yeah. I probably just offend a bunch of people in Scandinavia. Sorry, but
Yeah, no, but I get what you mean. It's like, you ever go to? There's not much going on in Sweden right now, but like Copenhagen Fashion Week.
I've been once.
Yeah.
And again, I was like, you
Underwear.
guys do a great marketing job. I have to give it, like, the marketing is amazing. Because people are like, oh, Copenhagen Fashion Week. So I was like, I went once and it was like, same. When I went to Stockholm for the first time, and I haven't been since, so I don't know if things have changed from speaking to my Swedish friends, they have. But I've never seen such a uniformity of style.
Like on the street.
On the street, it was almost scary. I was like,
it's crazy.
I was like, kind of like, yeah, it was almost.
Basically like that over whole Sweden. Like, but in Stockholm specifically. So like, they're having these boots with these black trousers.
Yeah.
And this.
So do you think this conformity comes from the sort of the socialist leanings of the country? No one's supposed to stand out. Everyone's.
In the beginning, yes. I don't think there's something socialist about it right now, because now the things people are buying is very expensive. And it's like, oh, you're going to buy that Acme hat for like $200 or whatever it is,
Yeah.
which everyone has. But like in the beginning, I think it is about like the conformity and
Yeah.
not standing
Yeah.
out.
It was so fascinating. See, I was like, because also like, Stockholm, I know now there's much more immigration, but also like it was quite uniform in the way people look aesthetically. And then also dressing the same. And I was like, this is weird.
Yeah. No, but it still very much is like that.
It's still
Like when you're there and like in it, you don't really think about it that much. But then if you travel to like, I don't know, Paris, Milan, you see like, shit, there is still subculture there.
The guys especially was like, yo, look the same. This is crazy.
All right, that was Oliver Dahle in conversation with Eugene Rabkin at the Fashion Talks event in Antwerp late last year. This has been the Scandinavian Mind podcast with me, Konrad Olsson, and my dear colleague Oliver Dahle. Don't forget to sign up to our newsletter not to miss out on any upcoming content and events we have planned for this spring. There's a bunch of things happening in the pipeline. Visit scandinavianmind.com/newsletter not to miss out on that. Oliver, thank you so much for this time. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye.